Welcome to today's English listening practice. This video will help you improve your listening skills and pronunciation. I suggest you pause after each sentence and try to repeat it aloud. A photographer in Boston discovers a mysterious roll of film containing images of a stranger. Soon the same man begins appearing in the exact locations where she takes her photos, leading her into a haunting discovery about time, loss, and second chances. My name is Sophia. I'm 28 years old. I live in Boston, in a small apartment above my photo studio. Every morning, I make coffee in my tiny kitchen and watch the sunrise through my window. The light here is perfect for developing film. The old wooden floors creak under my feet as I move around. My apartment smells like coffee and old books. I have plants on every windowsill trying to bring life into this small space. I still use old cameras. Film cameras. Most photographers switched to digital years ago, but I love the surprise. You never know what you'll find until you develop the roll. The smell of chemicals fills my darkroom. The red light makes everything look mysterious and otherworldly. My fingers are always stained with developer solution. Last Tuesday, I found something impossible. A stranger's face stared back at me from a photo I never took. My life was simple before this discovery changed everything. I photographed weddings on weekends, capturing couples' happiest moments. Family portraits during the week, freezing smiles and laughter in time. My studio smelled like chemicals and old paper. The walls were covered with my favorite shots from over the years. I liked the quiet routine. Wake up, make coffee, develop film, eat lunch, take photos, go home. The same every day. It was peaceful, predictable, safe. I never expected anything to disturb this comfortable rhythm. The man in the photo was young, maybe 30 years old. Dark hair that caught the light perfectly, kind eyes that seemed to look directly at me. He stood in front of the Boston Common fountain, completely at ease. I remembered taking that shot 3 weeks ago on a crisp October afternoon. It was empty then. Just the fountain and autumn leaves scattered on the wet ground. But here he was, clear as daylight, feeding pigeons from a small paper bag. His jacket looked worn but comfortable. His posture was relaxed, natural, like he belonged in that exact moment and place. I checked my notes carefully, going through my photography journal page by page. October 15th, 2:30 p.m. Cloudy day, soft light. I was alone that day. I always work alone, preferring the solitude and freedom to move at my own pace. My hands shook as I held the photo under my desk lamp. This was impossible. Film doesn't lie. Cameras don't add people who weren't there. I examined every detail with my magnifying glass. The shadows matched perfectly. The lighting was consistent throughout the frame. He belonged in that moment as if he had always been there. That night, I couldn't sleep for hours. I kept looking at the photo, studying every detail. The man seemed familiar, but I couldn't place him in my memories. I thought his smile reminded me of someone I'd lost long ago. I put the photo on my kitchen table and stared at it while drinking cold coffee that had been sitting there for hours. My cat, Luna, jumped on the table and sniffed the photo curiously. She meowed softly, as if she could sense something unusual about the image. The next morning, I went back to the fountain with determined steps. I took the same shot from the exact same angle, checking my position multiple times. The autumn air was crisp and clean. Other photographers were there too, tourists and professionals capturing the morning light dancing on the water. When I developed it that evening in my red-lit darkroom, my heart stopped beating for a moment. There he was again. Different clothes this time. A blue jacket instead of the brown one from before. But the same face. The same gentle, knowing smile. The same impossible presence that defied all logic. I started carrying my camera everywhere, becoming obsessed with this mystery. Every place I photographed, he appeared in the developed film like a guardian angel. The coffee shop on Newbury Street where I bought my morning espresso and read the newspaper. The harbor at sunset where couples walked hand in hand along the wooden pier. The park where children played on swings and slides while their parents watched. The old library where I spent rainy afternoons. Always there in the photos, but never when I actually took the picture. I began to feel like I was losing my grip on reality. After 2 weeks of this pattern, I recognized something crucial. He wasn't appearing randomly in my photographs. He appeared only in places that mattered deeply to me. Places I'd been with my brother before he died 5 years ago in that terrible car accident. The bookstore where we bought comic books every Saturday afternoon, arguing about superheroes. The bridge where we watched boats float by and made wishes on falling stars. The bench in the common where we shared ice cream cones and talked about our dreams for the future. My brother David had been 26 when the car accident happened on a rainy Tuesday night. About the same age as the man in my photos. They had the same eyes, warm and understanding. The same way of standing with one shoulder slightly higher than the other. The same gentle expression that could make you feel safe and loved. But David was gone forever. I'd buried him myself on the worst day of my life. I'd thrown dirt on his coffin and said my final goodbye. Or so I thought. I stopped sleeping properly, lying awake staring at the ceiling. Stopped eating regular meals, surviving on coffee and anxiety. My wedding clients started complaining about missed appointments and canceled shoots. I forgot about birthday parties and anniversary sessions that I'd booked months in advance. I only cared about the photos. About finding him again in my developed film. About understanding what this supernatural occurrence meant. My friend Sarah called me worried, saying I looked terrible and asking if I needed help. I couldn't explain what was happening because it sounded completely insane. Then I made a desperate decision that would change everything. I would wait at the fountain where it all began. If he appeared in my photos, maybe I could see him in person. Maybe I could ask him who he was. Why he looked exactly like David. Why he haunted my film with his mysterious presence. I packed a sandwich and a thermos of hot coffee. I prepared to wait all day if necessary, determined to solve this puzzle that was consuming my life. I sat on that cold metal bench for 6 long hours. People walked by with their dogs. Joggers passed in colorful athletic wear. Tourists took selfies and group photos. Street musicians played guitar for spare change. Pigeons begged for food scraps from anyone willing to share. The sun moved slowly across the sky, changing the shadows on the ground in patterns I'd photographed hundreds of times. Nothing unusual happened. Just when I was about to leave, my legs stiff and cramped from sitting, I felt the bench shift as someone sat beside me. I heard him speak and every muscle in my body froze. "You've been looking for me." I recognized that voice immediately from 1,000 childhood memories. It sounded exactly like David's voice. Soft, Warm. Familiar. The same voice that used to call my name when we were children playing hide and seek in our backyard. I turned slowly, afraid of what I might see. It was him. The man from all my photos. Real solid, breathing right next to me. My hands trembled uncontrollably. "Who are you?" I whispered, barely able to form the words. I watched him smile that familiar smile. "I think you know the answer to that question." That same gentle expression from every photo that had been haunting my dreams and waking hours. I felt hot tears fill my eyes and spill down my cheeks. "You're not David. David is dead." I was at his funeral. I watched them lower his casket into the ground. I heard him say softly, with infinite compassion, "I know you were there, Sophia. But love doesn't die when the body does. Neither does the need to watch over the people we care about most." I felt his hand touch mine gently. I could feel the warmth, solid and real and comforting. Just like David's hands when we were children, and he would comfort me after nightmares. "I don't understand any of this," I said, my voice barely a whisper lost in the evening breeze. I listened carefully as he explained with patience and love. "You've been so sad for so long. So alone in your grief. I couldn't rest peacefully knowing you were in such pain." I watched him point to my camera with tender recognition. Film sees more than digital technology ever could. It captures what the heart needs to see most. You needed to know that I was still here. Still watching over you with love. I sat beside him as the sun set slowly behind the Boston skyline. I listened to him tell me about all the places I'd been photographing compulsively. How they were all connected to our precious memories together as siblings. How he'd been trying to show me that love continues beyond death. That the people we lose never really leave us completely. I heard him say with gentle firmness, "You need to live again, Sophia. Really live your life fully. Not just survive each day in sadness." I watched his image begin to fade gradually as darkness fell over the common. The streetlights began to flicker on one by one. "Don't go away. Please don't leave me alone again," I begged desperately. I reached for his fading hand, but my fingers passed through empty air. I heard his final words clearly. "I'm not going anywhere, sister. I'm just not going to appear in your photographs anymore. You don't need me there now. You finally know that I'm always with you. In every sunset you photograph. Every laugh you capture. Every moment of joy you find." The next morning, I developed a film from our meeting at the fountain. Just me, sitting alone on the bench with tear-streaked cheeks. But I wasn't sad anymore for the first time in years. I felt peaceful, complete, whole. For the first time since David's death, I felt ready to truly live again. I started taking photos of living people again with renewed passion. Laughing children with ice cream smeared on their happy faces. Dancing couples at weddings, lost in their own joy. Families celebrating birthdays, graduations, and precious milestones. Life in all its beautiful, messy, wonderful forms. My photos became warmer, more alive with emotion. People noticed the difference immediately and started booking me for bigger events. Sometimes, late at night when I'm developing film, I still feel David's presence watching over me with love. But I don't need to see him in my photos anymore. I carry him in my heart instead, where he belongs. That's where he's always been. Even when grief blinded me to his continuing love, I still use film cameras exclusively. But now I photograph hope instead of sadness, love instead of loss, the future instead of dwelling in the past. Every click of the shutter is a celebration of life and all its possibilities. David taught me that some mysteries aren't meant to be solved logically. They're meant to heal our broken hearts. They're meant to remind us that love transcends death and never truly dies. If you enjoyed Sophia's story, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment about what you thought of her supernatural journey. Practicing English through storytelling helps improve both listening and speaking skills effectively.